This morning we continue with our series, Destinations. During these last few weeks, we've asked the question, is the path you're on leading you where you want to go? And we have found that in order to keep on the right path, you have to do something. But there are also times when you have to stop doing something. When I was in my 20s, I made some really bad choices. Now, nobody's ever done that, right? Always ending up in a big mess. It was 1982, and my mother had just passed away. I was 22 at the time. My family now consisted of my dad, my sister, and myself. And all three of us were trying to deal with this great loss. What made it even more difficult was the fact that we were not a Christian family. So everything was based on our own wisdom and feelings. And we each had our own way of handling the whole situation ourselves. As for my sister, she was able to move on forward and continue in the direction that she wanted to go. But me, I began going down that wide path leading to destruction. I was affected differently. I had lost not only my mother, but my boss. And everything in my life changed so much from her death that I had lost all direction of where I was going. Result, I simply didn't care anymore. And I allowed others to determine my destination. The problem was their paths were also leading to destruction. Now for my dad, he had his own way of dealing with his loss. He would not speak about it. My father was not an outward emotional person. That had been my mom. So we were basically three people coping with a terrible loss separately. But the day came when my dad finally broke his silence. And guess who was the one that broke it? It was me. I had spiraled in such a mess that he had to come and rescue me. And after it was all over, my dad took me aside and looked directly into my eyes and said this: "You need to stop doing the things you're doing." And that was it. Now, having my father say this to me with that look in his eyes and an authority in his voice was like a knife in my heart. Because what he thought of me meant everything. But when he said that to me, I made the choice not to listen to him. I look back now and realize that he was trying to tell me, you're going the wrong way. How many times has someone tried to tell you, you're going the wrong way? And like I did, you ignore it and just do your own thing and refuse to listen.
This is ridiculous.
All right, come on, let's go. Let's go.
Put your window down! You want something?
He's probably drunk.
You're going the wrong way! What? You're going the wrong way! He said we're going the wrong way!
Oh, he's drunk. How would he know where we're going?
Yeah, how would he know? Thank you. Thanks a lot. Terrific.
Thank you. What a moron.
You're going in the wrong direction!
remind you of anyone in the past? How about your parents, your friends, your children, your spouse, maybe God? And it doesn't matter how old you are. How many times do we sit in the passenger seat and let someone else drive? What about the times when we're emotionally numb? When something devastating happens in our life to us? During the loss of a loved one, the ending of a marriage, the loss of a job, or we find ourselves going through a health crisis. There are times in our life when we are so overwhelmed by tragedy that we just don't care anymore. And it's during those times when it's easy to hand over the steering wheel. Because the truth is, when we are unable to look beyond ourselves during a crisis, we will act upon our feelings, our life experience, and our lifestyle. And when people come to us and try to warn us, we hold on to the very things that keep us on the wrong path. In my case, I chose my own judgment instead of listening to my father's warning. I chose to be naive and not listen to wisdom. And it took years for me to get back on the right road again. We choose to stay on our highway to destruction, and we tell ourselves, I can never change the way things are. Especially when we surround ourselves with a lifestyle and people who will agree with us. And we will become even more foolish by allowing someone we don't even know take the wheel and drive us down a road that dead ends. We've talked about how something or somebody on our path can lead us to change our direction, leading us to the wrong destination. We need to realize that we are all capable of being naive, that every one of us here has the potential of going the wrong way. The scriptures tell us about one man who had the wisdom to make right decisions based on his own judgment, and it was King Solomon. Solomon received true wisdom from God. He had unbelievable wisdom. When Solomon became king of the nation of Israel, he was very young, and he had the responsibility to build the temple. One night, Solomon was visited by God. The Lord appeared to Solomon during the night in a dream, and God asked, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Now let's pause here for a moment and think about that statement. Imagine if God came to you one night and gave you the opportunity to ask for anything. What would you ask for? Would you have responded like Solomon did? I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? God was so pleased with Solomon's request that he responded with this: "Since you have asked for this and not for long life or wealth for yourself, nor have asked for the death of your enemies, but for discernment in administrating justice, I will do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be." And people from all over came to seek Solomon's wise advice. Now just imagine if Solomon was here with us today, and you could ask him, "What should I do to know what path to take?" What do you think his answer would be? Go to college? Follow me on Facebook? Google it? No, the answer would be found in the Bible. Trust the Lord completely and don't depend on your own knowledge. Don't trust in your own wisdom, but fear and respect the Lord and stay away from evil, because the answer to life is not through our knowledge. We make decisions based on our own knowledge every day. And the reason we do this is because it gives us control. And many times the result of our own decisions take us to a dead end.
Control? Yeah, I like being in control. I feel good when I'm in the driver's seat or behind the wheel. It's where I'm comfortable. It's where I feel like I'm in charge. I mean, if I want to go right, I go right. And I want to go left, I go left. I'm the one who chooses what road we go down. Make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not opposed to using a map. If it once in a while if I'm a little unsure of the area.
You ever ask for directions?
Yeah, I'll ask for directions. I'm not even opposed to stopping, but it's only ever for confirmation. I mean, think about it for a second. If I give up this position, I am essentially letting someone else tell me where they think I should go, and I just can't do that. I need to be in control. That's all there is to it. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with being in the driver's seat of my own life. It's my life. I think I know better than anyone how it should be run.
So you always know exactly where you should be going?
Yeah, I do. Not everyone's a great driver, okay? Not everyone can handle the open road. But I can. I handle it just fine on my own. Wait a second.
Is this where you wanted to go?
We make decisions based on our own experiences, our worldview, and our own understanding. It's good to have knowledge and gather information, but Solomon is telling us when it comes to choosing our paths in life, don't lean on your own understanding or someone else's. With every step you take, think about what he wants, and he will help you go the right way. If you want to end up on the right path, it won't happen by Googling it, listening to others, or just hoping for it. You begin by trusting God with everything you have. Your marriage, your finances, your health, and your relationships. The only way you can go in the right direction is by submitting your entire life to God. Submission precedes direction. And when you do this, you invite God into all of your life. You will know, and when you do this, you will know which path to take. Don't trust in your own wisdom, but fear and respect the Lord and stay away from evil. And this applied to Solomon as well, because even Solomon made a wrong decision. There was a time in his life when Solomon used his own judgment and understanding instead of trusting God to defend the nation. Solomon decided to marry the daughters of foreign kings and emperors to have an alliance, because that's what all the kings did in those days. However, by doing this, he used his own judgment instead of God's wisdom, and he disobeyed God. And the consequences of his own judgment ruined the kingdom, it ruined his legacy, and it divided his family. Because information is not enough, wisdom is not enough, insight and experience is not enough. You don't need more common sense. You need God. Because when we become prideful, wisdom is tossed aside. And we will look for a path before us that is most pleasing to us to follow. Not based on wisdom, but based on our feelings. Think about it. When you and I get prideful, we can make some pretty dumb decisions. Going the right way is not based on the information and insight. It's based on your relationship, knowing God himself. And if you want to know what path is the right path to go, it begins with submission. In other words, yield to God. But this is hard for us because we have our own expectations on how God will help us. And these expectations were created out of our own experiences and our needs. God's way is paved with hope, filled with an abundance of grace. However, his way is narrow, and it takes time to travel on, and we cannot control it. So we will take a shortcut because we think we can get there faster. We will make decisions in haste because we focus on the present and not the future. And we will even go the wrong way because we won't listen when someone tells us, you need to stop doing the things you're doing. The scripture encourages us to watch and ask where the good way is, because the good way will give us rest and lead us home. son Shem was very young, he would read his devotional book to me. And one evening, he was reading about following the right path. It told him about making a promise to God, a promise to follow the path and do what is right. All of a sudden, he stopped reading and just dropped his head. How can I promise God that I will always follow the right path and do what is good? What if I can't find it and do something bad? I can't lie to God. I looked at him and said, ask God to help you. That's what grace is all about. Then he smiled and continued to read. He forgot about God's grace. When we forget about God's grace, we choose our own direction, which determines our destination. God's grace is always available all around us. His grace speaks throughout the scriptures, encouraging us to go the right way. His grace flows through the Holy Spirit to guide us down that way. And His grace moves through His people to tell us when we're going the wrong way. Let's pray. Father God, may our paths always lead to you. But when we do go the wrong way, help us to listen when someone is telling us that we are going the wrong way. In Jesus' name we pray.